So having, records kind of like in and around the house. And then my mom, she would take us to record stores. It felt like, I wouldn't say every weekend, but it was definitely like twice a month maybe. And we had a handful of really dope record stores.
So wait, your mom was a digger?
Not a digger. She just
she
would sort of. She would go for like the music that she liked. So this is like my earliest memory are like in the late '70s. So kind of at the tail end of the disco era. So we had this store, the Music Box, which was in Cerritos, and the man that ran it was a disco DJ. He would walk in and he had like 4 buttons unbuttoned, with the Italian hairy chest, with the Italian piece, like with the white blazer.
Yeah.
But my mom would walk in, and I remember a couple times like she wouldn't know what song it was. It would be like, say for example, Anita Ward, Ring My Bell.
Oh yeah.
And she would sing it. And he would be like,
yeah. Donna Summer.
He was on his game.
Donna Summer.
And then Donna Summer, Bee Gees, of course. But then later in the early mid '80s, when hip hop made its way to the West Coast, this dude had some albums. So that's where I got my copy of Malcolm McLaren, my copy of the first Fat Boys album, some of the early Juice Crew stuff with Roxanne Shante, Biz Markie a couple years later. But he started carrying a little bit of everything. So it was, to answer your question, it was a bit of both. It was, my mom taking me to the record store, buying me records so I could go home and listen to them. You were lucky if you had maybe a homie that DJ'd and, you could go to his house and maybe he would show you a thing or two. I didn't. I didn't have any friends that DJ'd. So I was self-taught. So, and again, without there being any tools or resources available to anybody that wanted to DJ, the learning curve was quite extended compared to what it is today, right? Because now you can go on YouTube. You can there's DJ schools in every major city or most every major city. So there's a lot more information out there, and you can kind of quicken the learning process. But back then, I got my first turntable as a gift from Santa Claus in 1987 after begging my parents to buy me. And equipment's expensive back then, like $500 for one turntable, so it's a G for a pair. And then if you wanted like the premium mixer, like which was the Newmark was the one that was probably close to another $1,000 depending on the model. Then the sound system, the amp, like you're talking like $5,000, $6,000, which is probably the equivalent to like $25K today, something like that. So, and again, like I understand this now, but again, I was young, so I'm asking my parents to invest into this $500 piece of equipment at age 14. And they had seen me like get into skateboarding, they had seen me get into chess and like strategy games, and fine, that's cool, decks of cards, those are affordable, board games, those are affordable. Now I'm asking you for like $500 piece of equipment. So I mean I understand now as a parent, and they're probably looking at it like, yes, my parents, they've always been super supportive since day one, but when I got my techniques kind of without my dad's blessing, he came home one day and all he had in the living room was a turntable, because I took the cassette deck and the receiver straight to my room, and that was how I taught myself how to mix and how to learn to scratch a little bit. Again, this is a home stereo receiver, so it didn't have faders or a crossfader. Obviously, it wasn't a mixer; it had a knob. So fortunately for me, the phono knob was right next to the auxiliary, and I didn't have anything plugged into the auxiliary, so I figured out that if I turn the knob to the auxiliary mode, it would turn sound completely off, and it was just one click away from the phono. So that's how I started to learn how to scratch. Fit.
Oh, wow.
Fit a little bit. Again, this is using a knob.
That'll be the only way I could battle Melo and have a chance, is if we go get on something like that.
We go
and so and then I would use the cassette deck, and I would record the records that I had, play them back, and then that's how I taught myself how to beat match, like kind of by ear. But I did this again, like just quietly to myself, like as a bedroom DJ.
You're mixing in your headphones.
3 years. Yeah, so I would play the cassette in the speaker, and then I would mix in cue, use the listen to the turntable. I couldn't play both because it wasn't a mixer.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's how I taught myself.
Are your parents like, hey, turn that down? Kind of.
They had been doing mobile gigs. They were actually, Curse was the first mobile DJ that I ever saw. He actually did my very first middle school dance when I was in 7th grade. And so he was definitely one of my big inspirations, and he was dope. Curse was, I mean, talk about anyone that was bar for bar, being able to do all the cuts that Joe Cooley could do, that Tony G could do, fast transforming, doubles of its time, you know, some creative mixing stuff. He had, again, the full system.
What's his name again? Curse?
DJ Curse. He's the
DJ Curse.
original beat junkie from Cerritos.
I gotta look him up. Aaron, we gotta put him in the B-roll, man.
Curse got stories for sure. Right. That's my brother right there.
Okay.
And Rhett Maddock, another one of my brothers, my beat junkie brothers. So, you know, meeting with these guys, finally connecting with them after being a fly on the wall, literally like for a few years, watching them DJ at my high school and at some house parties around the way. Now being able to meet them and being invited to go record shopping with them, or if they had a gig, hey Mello, we're doing this gig. If you want to come by, man, it's going down in Huntington Beach, or they would invite me out, and then they started doing this club. So connecting with them, and then that coinciding with, again, Hubert winning this battle, and kind of that Hubert